name is Pastor Gary Wiedemeyer, and at this time I'd like to take the time just to thank you for viewing this program. This program is a result of the BEM meetings in 1982, the World Council of Churches, BEM standing for Baptism, Eucharist, and Ministry. This program is exclusively being made for Seventh-day Adventists as a result of certain items and circumstances and events that have transpired since then that we feel you need to know about. We'd also like to ask that you just take a few minutes to pray, because we want this program to enhance your spiritual life, not to detract from it. But since we're looking directly at the strategies of Satan to deceive the elect, it's important that we go forward in this program knowing that the Lord is with us. Thank you. The title of our program is Unmasking the Lunar Serpent. George Bush, he told the United Nations General Assembly, the United Nations can help bring about a new day and to press forward to cap a historical movement toward a new world order and a long era of peace. New York Times, 10/2/90. We've heard about peace. The Bible talks about peace. It says that there'll be a message of peace and safety just before the Lord's coming. In Europe, we see this new world order taking shape. And in fact, on this very poster that you can see over around Europe, it's entitled Europe, Many Tongues, One Voice. As you look at this poster, and some of you may have seen it before, you'll notice something very, very interesting. As you zoom in close on this poster, you will notice that every single line in this poster is a wavy line. And that is very, very important to us, because as we begin to look at the New World Order and its symbols and the New World Church and its symbols, we will find that one of the most important symbols that they use is the wavy line. More pointed, they use three wavy lines, correlating, of course, with the BEM, Baptism, Eucharist, and Ministry. So we want to find out who's using it, its significance, where it came from. Starting out in a book called The Woman's Dictionary of Symbols and Sacred Objects by Barbara G. Walker, we find the following information. The horseshoe shape was one of the most sacred in the ancient world because it was a stylization of the yoni. The yoni, of course, stood for the female sexual organ. It signified entrances and exits in general. We're going to be concerned throughout this program about entrances and exits out of truth. It continues to say, there was always controversy, however, about whether its opening should point upward or downward. Orthodox piety insisted that the omega should be reversed so that the luck wouldn't run out. Pagan tradition said the symbolic yoni-formed doorway should retain its original upward arch. The two ways of hanging the horseshoe actually echoed the magic signs called dragon's head and dragon's tail, the ascending node and descending node, which, when plotted, would result in the wavy line representing the lunar serpent. One wavy line represents the lunar serpent. And we know from the Bible that serpent is Satan, Lucifer, the devil. From the book Two Babylons, we find the dragon of the Greeks, said Pernicius, was only a large snake, a fiery serpent, the patronage of Nimrod. There was the strongest evidence that the apostasy among the sons of Noah began in fire worship, of course, being equated with sun worship, and that in connection with the symbol of the serpent. What have we learned? One wavy line represents the serpent. The serpent is connected with fire worship, also with Nimrod, represented by a snake. Goes on to make that even more clear. In that Two Babylons, page 227, it says, along with the sun as the great fire god. There we have connected the sun with the fire god. And in due time identified with him was the serpent worship. So worshiping the Satan is the same within the ancient religions as worshiping the sun. In the mythology of the primitive world, says Owen, the serpent universally is the symbol of the sun. The serpent, one wavy line, the lunar serpent, sun worship. The Bible says in Revelation 13:8, here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. 666. One of the first men to get the number 666, of course, was Nimrod. And so we want to go back and pick up this Nimrod and 666, and of course the hand signal. When we're talking about wavy lines today, we're going to be talking quite a bit about the three wavy lines. You may not have heard about them yet, but believe me, by the time this program is over, you will know a lot about the three wavy lines. The three wavy lines also correlated with the three-fingered hand signal. In Egypt, of course, it talked about it. This is from, the Woman's Dictionary of Symbols by Barbara G. Walker. It says of the three raised digits, the index and middle finger stood for the goddess and god, male and female. The magic mother finger, the phallic father finger, and the thumb stood for the child Horus. In fact, in Egypt, when they used to give this signal, which we see in many circles today, they used to tuck the thumb under the two fingers that were pointed down, symbolizing the child in birth or the virgin birth. 666. This correlates with the three wavy lines, Nimrod, Semiramis, and Tammuz. The serpent. From the book Ancient Pagan and Modern Christian Symbolism. It says, Roman and Anglican bishops or other hierarchs give benediction to their people. A similar disposition is to be met within Indian mythology when the creator doubles himself into male and female, so as to be in a position to originate new beings. You see, in the ancient religious systems, Satan introduced the concept that God within those systems could be both male and female. Satan claiming within this system to be male and female, although he can't be, obviously. Within the religious teachings, that's what was taught. He wanted to be in a position to create, because of your Seventh-day Adventists, you remember the story, how Satan was not allowed into the Council of Peace. And also, he obviously hates you because you can be a part of the procreation process. So he brought forth this religious system and this teaching that he could create. The Creator doubles himself into male and female so as to be in a position to originate new beings. We can see that, and you're familiar with, of course, the fact that Roman and Anglican bishops and many, many religious systems use this three-fingered signal, 666, Nimrod, Semiramis, and Tammuz. It's amazing how this particular symbol is also popping up in Adventist circles. This is from Andrews University, the cast. Please note the three-fingered symbol as it will correlate as we continue on with the three wavy lines. This, of course, was the 666 symbol. Also Nimrod, Semiramis, and Tammuz as we go back to Babylon and in and through Egypt. Another way in which another shot at this appearing in Adventist circles, again, these are only samples. Here, of course, again, you can see the same symbol. Folks, this is not a Christian symbol. This symbol has no place being in Christian literature. It is spiritualistic and from the occult. And it stands for 666. It correlates with the three wavy lines we'll be looking at later on, and correlates all the way back to Babylon, Nimrod, Semiramis, and Tammuz. Another source for our three wavy lines comes from the book Modern Magic. Here it says, the acorn section should be decorated with elongated yellow yods. The Hebrew letter as shown below, there should be a total of 3 yods. Now the yod is the 10th letter of the Hebrew alphabet. It looks sort of like a 6. And what they did in spiritualistic circles is they stretched that yod out and called the elongated yod. You notice it says there should be 3, and they're correct. The 3 stand for 666. They correlate with the 3 fingered hand signal, and they correlate with the three wavy lines. You will also see this in Adventist circles. This is a book from the Adventist ABC, La Biblia Responda. And here you can see this same elongated yod acorn. And of course, with the yellow, because yellow is the primary color used in the acorn with the three elongated yods. Yellow standing for sun, sun worship. It is a symbol of the sun worship. From the book Sacred Fire, here we see that the symbol of fertility with the serpent wrapped here actually creates three wavy lines, 666, Nimrod, Semiramis, and Tammuz. From the book Illuminati, 666, again we see the symbol here, SSS, or three wavy lines, 666. They also use other letters such as VVV or ZZZ. It says, another way the number 666 was hidden, which can be unmasked, is in learning the origin of the trident sign. So you can see this correlates with the trident sign. Earlier we learned that the sun god's weapon was the lightning bolt, and it was stylized into a pitchfork. The pitchfork had three prongs to it. Hence, we have today the trident sign, which, by the way, is used to symbolize the number 666. So those two slides that you just saw of Adventists with the hand signal, with the hand signal, the three fingers, actually stood for 666, just as this does, as pictured here in the Illuminati 666. From the book Occult Theocracy, it states here, more than any other country, ancient Egypt was an illustration of theocratic power. Their sovereign Lord God and teacher bore the name Hermes of Thoth, the great initiator. In him were typified the three great powers of royalty. So you can see, just as Babylon had their false trinity of Nimrod, Semiramis, and Tammuz, so did Egypt. It says, in him were typified the three great powers of royalty, law-giving or legislative, and high priesthood, which made the Greeks disciples of the Egyptians. Surname him Hermes of Trismegistus, or thrice great. So we can see this threesome coming up in many, many ways and leading into the three wavy lines. God had a warning for Israel about going to Egypt. And the reason we've put this in is because many of the symbols that you're going to be looking at today come from Egypt. And God warned ancient Israel about this. It says here, woe to them that go down to Egypt for help and stay on horses and trust in chariots, because they are many, and in horsemen, because they are very strong. But they look not unto the Holy One of Israel, neither seek the Lord. It's a fact that Israel did not obey God's counsel, of course. They did go down to Egypt, and they became imbued with their religious teachings. They aligned themselves politically, financially, and began to worship, eventually, of course, the same gods and the same idols. Ellen White even was more dramatic about modern Israel going to Egypt. She says the church has turned back. That means going in the opposite direction from following Christ, her leader, and is steadily retreating toward Egypt, not going towards the kingdom, not moving towards Christ, but moving towards Egypt. This is very critical, because one of our main sources for the three wavy lines that are appearing in Adventist literature that you'll be seeing later on do in fact come from Egypt. It says here, this is from the Book of the Dead, about Egyptian and Assyrian antiquities. It says the god Nu, notice, of course, the correlation with the three wavy lines, is the name given to the vast mass of water representing, of course, people in Bible prophecy, which existed in pre-medieval times and was situated presumably in the sky. In other words, the people could become as gods. Nu was called the father of the gods. The early inhabitants of Egypt thought that the sun sailed over the waters Nu. Now, you and I as Adventists were taught, if you're a third or second generation Adventist, you were taught that the sun would indeed sail over the waters. You were taught that eventually there would be a Sunday law and all the earth would be brought to a point of choice. The early inhabitants of Egypt thought the sun sailed over the waters, the Sunday law over the people of Nu in two magical boats. And please remember the two magical boats. They are critical to our study, called Machet or Metet or Atet or Sintet or Sektet. Respectively, in the morning, the sun set out in its morning on its journey. And we've been told, and New Agers believe, that we're about to set out on the journey of a new era. They call it the Age of Aquarius. It says the sun set out in the morning on his journey, which he finished in the latter. A very ancient tradition in Egypt asserted that Nu was the head of a divine company, which consisted of 4 gods and 4 goddesses. These were Nu, male, 3 wavy lines. Nut, the female, 3 wavy lines. Goes down here to say, the gods of these pairs were depicted in human forms, which with the heads of frogs. Of course, you remember something about 3 frogs in Revelation. This will also come into play. And goddesses in the forms of women with serpent heads. Now, we're going to be covering a lot off of this particular slide as we move forward. I want you to remember the sun sailed over the waters. Age of Aquarius, the new age. Please remember the magical boat. Please remember the frogs. Please remember this is talking about both male and female, and it's symbolized in part by 3 wavy lines. Remember the magical boat over the waters new? Here it is. World Council of Churches. Magical boat over the waters new. Okuminde. Welcome. Celebration of sacred days, the cross in Rome, a symbol of the sun. Many people do not realize that when Jesus was put on the cross, he was in essence offered up to the sun god of the Romans. Magical boat, the sun sailed over the waters new, 2 wavy lines. Notice this one also, the same World Council of Church logo, only this time over 3 wavy lines. You may be asking yourself, well, why this one has 3 wavy lines and why does this one have 2? We're going to show you, and it's very important. Before we get a little further, I also want you to note here on this book published in 1932, The New Wonder World, you'll see the sun again sailing over the waters new. Please note that it has 1 set of gold, 3 wavy lines, and 1 set of black, 2 wavy lines, again symbolizing the same 2 logos we just saw of the sun over the waters new. New or New World Order, New Wonder World, just another word for the same thing, way back in 1932. Revelation 16:13 says, and I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon. That's Satan, out of the mouth of the beast, Rome, and out of the mouth of the false prophet, apostate Protestantism. We're going to be showing today and trying to conclusively show you that these 3 frogs we believe represent celebration, hypnosis, and the science of symbology, all being used in all apostate churches to bring God's people into the false unity of Babylon against the remnant of God at the end of time. Notice what Ellen White has to say about these 3 frogs. First of all, she repeats the text. And then please note this little word here. All who will exalt and worship the idol Sabbath, a day that God has not blessed, help the devil and his angels with all the power of their God-given ability, which they have perverted to a wrong use. You may be saying to yourself, well, that lets the Seventh-day Adventist Church off the hook, doesn't it? They're not yet exalting and worshiping the idol Sabbath. Oh, aren't they? We've got some real surprises and some shocking surprises for you today, folks. And it's not fun. It's not going to be fun to have to see what we have to look at today. But we need to know. I don't think any of you want to go on deceived. We want to know where we're at, where God is at, and where we are in the stream of time and the unfolding of the scroll. How about those two wavy lines? Why does the World Council of Churches sometimes use 2, and why do they sometimes use 3? One of the reasons is because 2 wavy lines is equated with the New Age, the age of Aquarius, and its symbol is 2 wavy lines. It says here, the zodiac necessarily must be ancient enough to go backward to that period when its signs and symbols coincided exactly with the position of the constellations whose various creatures and their natural functions exemplified the outstanding features of the sun's activity during each of the 12 months. So now you know the symbol of the 2 wavy lines and 3 wavy lines, also including the serpent, going all the way back to Nimrod, is a symbol of sun worship. It correlates with the sun's activity. We should not be surprised that these 3 wavy lines would start popping up over on everything and all over everywhere. It's a symbol. It's a sign to us, the Seventh-day Adventists, that indeed the Sunday law is about to be passed. That's why its symbol is here. And to show you that New Agers mean business, let me show you this little ad. This is from a New Age company. We found this in a New Age magazine. Please note the symbol of the face looking at the sun. And please note that the sun is equated with the symbol, 2 wavy lines, the one that you just saw on this previous slide. The symbol coincides with the sun's activity. And notice how blatant they are down here. Discover a new solar system. Even the New Agers, folks, want the Sunday law. Ellen White says that everyone would unite against God's people to promote this day of worship, Baal worship. Let's tie these 3 wavy lines into Roman Catholicism, and let's start with something simple. This is from the book The Royal Archmason. It says mysterious trademarks on stones being used and reconstruction of an 8th century old Spanish monastery in North Miami Beach were causing speculation Saturday. Chiseled indentations, each covering approximately 2 square inches. They resemble Western cattle brands. 2 with approximately 40 marks placed there by ancient monks. Please note the 3 wavy lines. Please note also some of these other ones have occult teaching and symbolism behind them. This one especially too, with the 2 triangles creating the 6-pointed star. We're more concerned about the 3 wavy lines. This is from the book Saints, Signs, and Symbols put out by the Catholic Church. And you'll please note it has 2 sets of 3 wavy lines, 666, Nimrod, Semiramis, and Tammuz. Yin and yang, right and wrong, can coexist together. Of course, as true historical Adventists, we reject this kind of teaching. Please also note the 3 crowns, all of this resembling the false trinity going all the way back to Babylon. And the 3 points on the crown. 3s, Trinity, 666, 3 wavy lines. This is from the Catholic book RCIA, The Rite of Christian Initiation of Adults. Please note again the symbol of the 3 wavy lines. For you who may not be aware of this book and the program involved with this book involves the Catholic Church's work and program to bring Catholics or bring people into the Catholic Church. It's amazing. It involves also something that some of you may be familiar with already. It involves symbols, cell groups, celebration, and hypnosis. From the book Transcendental Typology, please note here the Age of Aquarius again with the 2 wavy lines. This is not the zodiac wheel. However, it has the same 12 signs. It's the wheel of psychology. And please note here, it's being equated with a gentleman by the name of Jung. For those of you who don't know who Jung is, he's one of the great-grandfathers of psychology. Mr. Jung is a split-off from Freud. And my question that I asked when I first saw this is, what does Mr. Jung have to do with the 3 wavy lines, the New World Order, And by Dave Hunt is, of course, going to let us know from the book, The Seduction of Christianity. It says, Wimber seminars are being attended by thousands of pastors and Christian leaders. Folks, just think of that. Thousands of pastors are going to this Wimber seminar. It says, John Wimber is very sincere in his desire to bring biblical teaching. It is the extra biblical sources he and others draw upon and recommend that creates the major problem under the influence of writers such as Sanford Kelsey. Now, you may not know these names, but these gentlemen are mystics. And one of these names, of course, popped up in a video being done by an independent in Florida. And he was mentioned on a little video that was played by a church not too far from Los Angeles, in which he was hypnotizing his audience. And he mentioned that, Adventists ought to be reading this guy because he's a wonderful mystic, just kind of like in the same order as Ellen White. Makes you kind of sick. And all more and more Christian leaders interpret Scripture through a grid of mysticism blended with Jungian psychology. Note here, it says, this verified with LSDs the theories that Freud and Jung discovered through the equally shamanic practice of hypnosis. So now you know why NLP is coming into the church. It's partly a plan of New Age. It's partly the plan of bringing all churches and religious systems into a single world church. Hypnosis, Jung, New Age, two-wavy lines, sun worship. Such theories form the scientific basis for psychotherapy and Christian inner healing. And I hope, dear friends, that you're not going to this type of practice to get your Christian inner healing. I hope you're going to Christ. It says the two Freudian Jungian ideas, psychic determinism and the unconscious, of course, that's what they claim NLP does, bypasses the conscious, form the foundation of inner healing, both in the secular world and in the church. And it's no different with the Adventist church. These same things are coming into the Adventist church as they all are into all of them. How does symbolism work? We're going to be looking at a lot of symbols that have popped up since the meetings in 1982, the BEM meetings. It is interesting how since those meetings, the changes in doctrine and the increase in the use of certain symbols have started appearing in Adventist literature since these meetings. So how do you use symbols? Symbols imply information. If I'm driving down the freeway and I see this on a sign or somebody hands me a business card, I think right away, of course, I've been educated to respond that this means they're Christians. When in fact, folks, this is an occult symbol, a symbol of the Yanni. The tails were added to symbolize the sexual order. Symbols imply information. Symbols are also a shortcut to communication, often tying together apparently unrelated information. The shell, although it has nothing to do with gas, is a symbol of the sun. But if I'm driving down the freeway again and I'm about out of gas and I see this pop over through the trees, or pop over the trees, then I sigh a sigh of relief because I know this gentleman might have some gas for me and I may not have to get my can and do some walking. However, this sign does not tell me whether he does repairs or if his gas is 96 octane or 97 octane. It doesn't tell me all the details. It's a shortcut to communication. Symbols potentially can confuse issues because the details are not clearly articulated. Now, there are two ways of interpreting symbols. The New World Order wants you to interpret symbols intuitively. That means they want you to be exposed to these symbols and to seek the meaning of these symbols through your experience, your emotions, your feelings. The rational approach, and by rational I mean only exactly what I'm stating here, seek to understand original or intended meaning, and that's what we're going to do. Intuitive. Is celebration intuitive or is it rational? Obviously, it's an emotional experience, and so is an intuitive base. So we would expect symbols to start popping up with celebration, and that we will see is being done. Intuitive, New Age. The main emphasis of New Age is on the intuitive consciousness. It's not a rational approach in New Age, it's an intuitive approach. As you will see, the fathers of symbolism also believe that symbols can do the same thing as hypnosis. They can bypass the power of the conscious and go to the unconscious, both as psychology and NLP claim to do. Says symbols work best on man's intuitive side because it removes the necessity for clear articulation of issues. Two opposing views may use the same symbol. If I belong to a different church and you belong to a different church and we start seeing that we have the same symbols, we start thinking that we're kind of brothers and that we believe the same. So they use these symbols to reassure us that agreement exists. And the whole approach and strategy behind this, folks, is to start changing the symbols and then to start changing the theology to go with the symbols. Notice what it says here in this book, Seeing with the Mind's Eye. It says, visualization of geometric forms builds up intuition. So the three wavy lines are not just three wavy lines there for fun, neither are the rest of the symbols that they've been using since 1982. Notice what this says from the book The Mystic Spiral. It says, symbols cut directly through all the layers and windings of our consciousness. The same claim they make for NLP. Please remember this symbol, the circle with the dot in the symbol, a center. One of the most important symbols being used by the Seventh-day Adventist Corporation today is the circle with the dot in the center. We'll get into that a little later on. As we go through further into the program, we will be seeing three wavy lines used both horizontally and vertically. In the book Banners, which is a book from Catholic circles, it says vertical lines, they speak of growth, progress, escalation, and power. Remember the mark of the beast, using power. Horizontal lines, they give a feeling, remember, intuitive, a feeling of repose, peace and safety, remember? Contentment, calm, relaxation, and reflection. Now I want to start moving into the symbols that we have found popping up in Adventist literature since 1982, the BEM meetings. It says nearly all three-way designs, including, of course, the three wavy lines, have been assimilated by Western tradition to the Christian Trinity. The triangle represented the three-in-one unity of this goddess from the earliest scribblings of primordial man. In Egypt, remember Ellen White said, we have gone back, we are headed in the direction of Egypt. We have turned back and are going back to Egypt. In Egypt, the triangle stood for the female principle, motherhood, and the moon. Remember, one wavy line represented the lunar serpent. In Arabia, it signified the three lunar goddesses under the name, and Al-Uzza, Manat, and Alat, the earlier feminine form of Allah. Greece and Rome had many triadic versions of female divinity and many symbols for them. Now, please pay attention very closely. As always, when the older religious images, three angels, are supplanted or discredited by later forms, three wavy lines, the elder symbolism passes into the realm of the occult or of magic. You say, that's pretty strong language. Now, I've seen the three wavy lines on the front of the review, but that doesn't mean that it's not three angels. Folks, you're going to see some very startling comments by the Adventist leadership right in the Review and Herald that those three wavy lines do not necessarily symbolize the three angels anymore. And it won't be me saying it, it will be them saying it. But just remember that. When the elder symbolism passes into the realm of the occult or of magic, when it is replaced by a later form, such as three wavy lines. This is from the Women's Dictionary on Symbols. That's going to be an important point to remember. Triangles, being used very heavily by all churches and all religious systems, including the Seventh-day Adventist organization since 1982. The New Age triangle can be found in a multitude of shapes, forms, and sizes, and is often combined with other symbols such as the circle, the sun, the crescent moon, the square, and the Star of David. Here's the Star of David. Please notice the two triangles overlapping. This stands for male and female. Please note the black line and the non-black line, yin and yang. The circle in the center with the dot, the lunar serpent symbol. Triangles. Here we have some examples since 1982 of them beginning to pop up into Adventist literature. It says here, the seduction of our children, the triangle, the place where a demon would appear in conjurational ritual. Folks, you do not need triangles to present present truth. You especially don't need an exact form of the Catholic triangle. This symbol cannot be confused and cannot be accidentally designed. You will see this later in Catholic literatures. This is wholly a Catholic symbol. It's from the Adventist Review 6/10/82. Please note this triangle, double triangle, yin and yang, male and female with the acorn and the three yods up above. This is from Gleaner 4/191, another sample from the Adventist Review, and from CUC in Canada. They're bragging about their new triangle, a new unique design to be used for their library up at Canadian Union College. But please remember this one. And please remember the three wavy lines. This is 666. This is another symbol of the acorn, the three wavy lines. This is the light stuff, folks. We're going to get into the heavy stuff as we proceed. Please notice even in the primary treasure, they're getting more into more using these symbols that come from the occult. Here we have a whole plastering of triangles. This is 6/15/91. Now you say, the triangle, I heard you say, Gary, that the triangle represented female. It does. It represents the female goddess. If you've noticed, those triangles were all equilateral triangles consisting of three 60-degree angles, 666. It stands for the female goddess. Well, you might be saying, surely the Adventist organization is not getting into female god worship or making God out to be female. This is from Loma Linda. It is called Dialogue. It put out to approximately, as far as I know, about 20,000 people. Please note what they're saying here. God no longer plays parent to our childish irresponsibility. Instead, God treats us as friends, allowing us to make our own mistakes. I say that again, she suffers with us and celebrates with us. God, a she? Maybe you just made a typographical error. And so it was. People wrote in and they said, Loma Linda, I think you need to be a little more careful on how you edit and stuff because, you may want to be more careful and not make those kind of mistakes. So people wrote in and let Loma Linda know about it. Please note the response by Loma Linda. The use of the pronoun she was neither a typographical error nor due to lack of theological training. In other words, folks, Loma Linda knows exactly what they're doing. Even Christianity today knows better than to call God a she and get into the feminist theology. They say, I am sure that much of the feminist theology is a return to Baalism. Since 1982, all the other churches seem to be getting into it. This is from the Sunday Telegraph, July 28, 1991. Bid farewell to our Father who art in heaven. The Lord's Prayer is about to undergo a feminist facelift. Starting in October, Church of England congregations in Britain will be invited to pray to a woman God, just like Loma Linda's promoting, who gave birth to heaven and earth. The change comes in an Anglican prayer book from Britain's oldest religious publisher. The Revised Lord's Prayer opens, "Beloved our Father and Mother, in whom is heaven, hallowed be your name." She suffers with us and celebrates with us. Baalism. You saw a few slides back a New Age triangle. Yin and Yang. Male and female. This one's from the book Banner from Catholic circles. You'll notice that the same triangle that we saw in New Age is also being used in Catholic circles. You're going to see the same exact design in Adventist circles. The sun. Please note, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 circles on the outside. 666, 666 equilateral triangles, and male, female, yin and yang, right and wrong can coexist together. One of the other symbols that is appearing is called the triple ring. The triple ring, of course, is made up of 3 yanis. This is where your fish came from if you chop this off. 666, 666, and the triangle in the center, 666. It says here, the 3 rings are supposed to invoke the 3 fates in several ancient traditions. Rings as opposed to lines or crosses were typically female forms. Overlapping arcs of the 3 circles create a triple vesica. Rings and 3s were frequently connected in folklore, fairy tale, and magic charms. Just what you want on your Adventist literature. Symbols like this from the occult. You'll probably recognize this one from one of the car dealers and this one from Triple Alpha, all of them having to do with magic and spiritualistic teaching. This is from the Gleaner, 12/18/89. And please keep in mind, folks, these are only a few samples we are showing you. This is from the Gleaner, 12/18/89. Here we go, the triple ring, 666, 666. Folks, this is spiritualistic. It has no business being on any kind of Christian literature. Teen Magazine, July 11th, 1992. This very year, again, the triple rings. You can see it's being used in both adult and child circles within the Adventist Corporation. Another one that's popping up since 1982 in the churches is called the trefoil. It is a symbol of the Trinity, the false Trinity. 666. It made its way into the Catholic Church through the legend of St. Patrick. But here it is on Adventist literature. This is the Adventist Review Special Issue 27, Fundamental Beliefs. And folks, note what they start out with. They call it the Trinity. Folks, we have no business calling the Godhead the Trinity. It is not the Trinity. It is the Godhead, as Ellen White calls it, as the Scriptures call it. But note they use the word Trinity, and then they put with it this occult symbol. Folks, this can't even come close to the truth of what the Trinity really is. Ellen White is very clear on what the Godhead is. She says in Evangelism, page 613, 615, that the Godhead is each a person, each has a personality. They are not just 3 aspects of God coming out of one. They are each individually unique and different, all existed from all eternity. And that's not what this symbol teaches. But you see, we use the symbols to slowly change our thinking. And that is being done to Adventists today. Please note the cover of this Adventist Review. You'll note here, again, on the cover, the trefoil with the cross in the center. But folks, it is a shocking fact that almost every one of these, except for this one, is an occult symbol. Here's the triangle. Pentecostal dove, a symbol of the sun. In some circles, this is a symbol of homosexuality, the 2 arrows going at each other. This is a symbol being used by New Agers of the 4 elements of the earth. I ask you, what are these doing on Christian literature if the Adventist Corporation is still, in fact, a Christian church? But you say, well, there's that good old 7 down there. Yes, there's a problem with this 7, though. They're teaching you that the Sabbath, will eventually come out of what? The sun. Sunday worship. This is a symbol not of Sabbath worship, but of sun worship on the front of your Adventist Review. Wake up, Laodiceans, please. Now, this is again from Saints' Signs and Symbols from the Catholic Church. Please note this is some of their main symbols that they're now using. You've seen this one in the Adventist Church, the trefoil. This one you'll find on the front of your Bible that you can get at the ABC store. You've seen this one. I told you to remember this one. This one's too unique to forget out of the Adventist Review. Triangle. This one. All of these you're seeing is duplicated from Catholic Church into the Adventist Church. The same set of symbols. Even the Lutheran Church uses them. Here's a trefoil interlocked with a triangle. All of them are using the same symbols, including the Seventh-day Adventist Corporation. This is from the book, Mind and Magic. Please note something very interesting here. It says to induce a very specific state of out-of-the-body experiences is what it's talking about up here. To induce out-of-the-body experiences of a very specific nature. So what they did with this, those who were into the occult and worship, they would stare at this thing long enough, and of course you know Satan attends his symbols. They would stare at this long enough, and then they would have an out-of-the-body experience. Please note again, you've got your triangles and your circles and your squares interlocked here, and you stare at this thing, and then pretty soon Satan will oblige you. I have no doubt that it works. The amazing thing is the same package of these symbols are starting to appear in packaged form, all of them together, in some of the Adventist journals. Please note here, remember the circle with the dot in the center that I told you was so important. 1, 2, 3, 4, I think there's a 4, I think there's 5 on here. Please note yin and yang. This whole section is teaching yin and yang, right and wrong can coexist. And here again you have more of the triangles and the circle with the dots. This circle with the dot, folks, is absolutely devastating. I'll tell you a little bit more about it later on. Please hang on. Out-of-the-body experiences. When you say, come on, Gary, you're stretching it. They're not using that to teach an out-of-the-body experience. The Adventist Church surely is not into out-of-the-body experiences. I've got a surprise for you. This is from the Insight magazine. November 23, 1991. You've got a real surprise coming. Watch. Spaces. There is a sense of space within this church, the Seventh-day Adventist Church organization, that makes me want to dance. The inhibitions which cause my body to remain seated do not exist in my soul. And it soars graceful and smooth above the benches, filled with bodies remaining seated like my own. Out of the body experiences. And up there in those seemingly empty spaces, I find myself, my soul self, my self soul, dancing with other souls, dancing dances no eye see, spinning, floating, touching, till tears stream down my face and fill my heart. Tears coming from places I've never been for reasons I've never understand. Cleansing me and healing me, preparing me for smaller rooms where souls cannot soar for lack of space or time or silence. And I know I shall return to dance once more in the exhilarating glory of the seemingly empty spaces of this church. Out of the body experiences being taught within Adventist magazines. Well, how about that circle with the dot in the center, Gary, that you said was so devastating? I want you to notice from the book Egyptian Language what this circle... Remember what Ellen White said? You're going back to Egypt. You've turned around and are headed in the wrong direction. Well, note that this circle with the dot in the center, the symbol actually comes from Egypt. You see, folks, one thing that we have learned is that usually the symbols correlate with where you're headed and what you're experiencing. Circle with the dot in the center represents the sun god day. It also represents the sign of Lucifer. So together it represents Lucifer's sun god day. And it is all over Adventist literature. I want you to notice something. This is first of all from the Catholic books. They use circles with the dots in the center. So a couple examples. Here's another Catholic book, Graham Crackers, Ghoulishes, and God. Notice how they're equating the sun with God. Here's another example before we go into Adventist examples. Target, circle with a dot in the center. You see, Gary, that's stretching it. Circle with a dot, that's the name of their store, Target. But we do also have two other occult symbols on this page, the two wavy lines equating with New Age and the five-pointed star. I could buy one occult symbol in this ad, but three of them, I'm not going to buy that. Now, we're going to get into some heavy stuff, folks. I want to tell you just a little bit about where I came from and why this means so much to me and why I've been able to spot some of it, besides some people pointing it out to me. Being an advertising manager in the past, I'm acquainted with the powerful use of symbols and subliminal work. And here we have a very interesting job being done. Remember, circle with the dot in the center. Lucifer's Sun God Day. This is from Guide Magazine. Please notice the first thing they do on this page is they fracture the Sabbath. This is a symbol of doing away with the Sabbath that you love. And notice what they put right above it, coming out from behind the world to replace the fractured Sabbath, the sun. Please notice down below, it says God's radical day. But please note that it has a circle with a dot in the center, not signifying God's special seventh-day Sabbath, but Lucifer's sun god day. Folks, this is some of the most sophisticated use of symbolism that I have seen. This is, quote, hypnosis on the page. It is being done to prepare young people to accept Sunday worship. Lucifer's sun god day, away with the Sabbath and up with the sun. Please note down below, too, 3 sets of 2 wavy lines, 666. You say, Gary, how when your mind sees that circle with a dot in the center, how does the mind register it as meaning the sun god day? It's very easy, folks. In other areas, you just make sure that you draw a sun, and in some cases, you put the sun, and you make sure the sun has a circle or a dot. So sometimes it sees it, it registers as the sun, but other times they don't have to put it in all the time. Because your mind, once it starts registering that the sun has a circle and a dot with a dot in the center, the rest of the time you can just leave off the sun, and the mind will pick it up Sunday. Orange hair. Please note the wavy line up on top. One wavy line representing the lunar serpent, representing, as you will see later on, spiritualism. Circle with the dot in the center, Lucifer's sun god day. This is another example from Guide Magazine. Circle with the dot in the center, Lucifer's sun god day. 2 of them on that cover. Adventist Review, there's your 3 wavy lines. Are they still the 3 angels? The Adventist Church will let us know in their own church magazine just a little bit later. Something about love. Circle with the dot in the center. Lucifer's sun god day. We're hearing a lot about love in Adventist circles. We're hearing that what we need in the church is just love, 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 love. Forget all that obedience stuff and doctrine and stuff. If we don't become just a loving church, we're in real trouble. But my Bible says, if you love me, keep my commandments. Circle with the dot in the center. Here's a new book from the ABC store. Man in the Image of God. Circle with the dot in the center. Lucifer's sun god day. You're finding it all over Adventist literature. Here's another one. Just came out this week. And here's another one that we just picked up. You say, well, surely maybe that's just all those circles with the dots are accident. No, I'm afraid not, folks, because we're picking up in Adventist literature's overt worship of the sun. This is from the primary division Sabbath school lesson, January, March 1992. Look what this young man is doing. He is worshiping the sun, while this gorgeous being is looking on. This is January, lesson 4, 1993. Notice the one wavy line representing the lunar serpent being drawing and crossing out the law of God. What we need is something about love, right? Notice this sun-styled symbol here. Going back, of course, probably picking up a semblance of maybe Moses, but on the inside also a symbol of the sun being associated with the cross. And it was associated with the cross. In Rome, the cross was a symbol of the sun god. One wavy line representing the lunar. All these are out of this same book, the Collegiate Quarterly. Almost every page in this quarterly had an occult symbol on it. And most of them equated with sun worship, because the wavy line is also equated with sun worship. Here's another one from Insight. It says they want the little boy to hit the target. Service to God. Circle with a dot in the center, making sure that in this one they know that it's the sun. From Guide Magazine, Critical Condition, with the dots in the center. Voice of Prophecy, circle with a dot in the center. You say, boy, that's stretching it. Lake Union Herald. This is last year's Rose Parade float. I have not seen this year's yet, just a couple of days ago, or if they even had one. But you notice sunflowers. Now, I'll leave it up to you. I'll let you decide whether you think this was planned or not planned. You may have a different opinion after you see the documents later this afternoon from the BEM meetings. This is from the Adventist Review. Notice here, Sunday morning evangelism. This is by James H. Zachary. I want you to know what he says here. You're going to need to decide whether they're teaching Sunday worship or Sunday evangelism. It says, a church I know is laying plans for Sunday morning evangelism. It will provide a morning health program with jogging and some health screening. The people will then meet in small fellowship groups, I call them cell groups, to discuss topics of concern to the community. After a group sing, there will be a short Bible message. The morning activities will end with a potluck brunch. So the question is this Sunday morning evangelism or Sunday morning worship? It looks to me like almost a typical Sabbath morning for Seventh-day Adventists. Also notice here from the Recorder, 6490. What do Seventh-day Adventists believe? Here, Pastor Evangelist Jerry Webb present a fresh look at the truth. Subjects include Christians of other faith and the remnant, Christ-centered reasons for Sunday worship. I didn't know there were any Christ-centered reasons for Sunday worship. Sunday morning evangelism, Christ-centered reasons for Sunday worship. Circles with the dot in the center. This is the new little bag from the ABC store. Now you can go in and buy your books and come out with a bag with two circles with the dot in the center. Lucifer's Sun God Day. From the Australia Record, why Tongan Seventh-day Adventists worship on Sunday. And from the Hymnal, page 403, when I fall on my knees with my face to the rising sun, S-U-N, O Lord, have mercy on me. And I want to tell you, folks, the Lord will not have mercy on Seventh-day Adventists who will move from Sabbath towards Sunday worship. You may remember the 7 last plagues. The plague of blood is given against the world not because they killed the saints, but because they wanted to. When you choose to move towards Sunday worship, in God's eyes, you are already worshiping on Sunday, whether you're going to church on Saturday morning or not. God reads the heart. Here's a letter put out by the John Arthur, Vice President. This is from the British Union. And there was a struggle, of course, over the Sunday law there. And John is writing back to Thatcher. He says, our feeling as a church is that it would be better for one day each week to be retained as a day of rest and worship rather than no day at all. We would therefore respectfully request you and your colleagues in government to reconsider the proposal contained in the Sunday Trading Bill. Reconsider the bill for Sunday worship. The Adventist Church is actually asking the government of England to reconsider the Sunday worship bill. Circle with a dot in the center. It says here in the American Secret Destiny, it says, Paul Tillich believes that only the symbol can convey our ultimate concerns. The symbol, remember the circle with the dot in the center, participates in that to which it points. And the circle with the dot in the center popping up in Adventist corporate literature points to Sunday worship. Ellen White prophesied it. She prophesied our church, this corporation, and its pastors would be promoting Sunday worship from the pulpits and the camp meetings. Before we get into the three wavy lines, which is really the meat of the program and the meat of the issue in this presentation, I want to look at one more symbol that is appearing and has appearing more and more as we see the celebration movement taking hold of all the churches, including the Seventh-day Adventist Corporation. This again is from the Women's Dictionary of Symbols and Sacred Objects. Here we see the spiral. It says, both single and double spirals were among the most sacred signs of Neophilic Europe, the most sacred signs. It says the spiral was connected with the idea of death and rebirth, or as we would understand it, reincarnation. In Seeing with the Mind's Eye, it says, from ancient times, the spiral has been used in art and dance to induce a state of ecstasy. So here you can see the correlation between the use of the spiral and the celebration movement, a state of ecstasy. From a book from religious circles, I'm not going to mention the specific denomination, but here you can see the correlation between the spiral and the circle with the dot in the center. Here we have the spiral working its way into the center, and then you have the circle with the phallic symbol going through it. If you cut the phallic symbol off on both sides and look from the end, you have the circle with the dot in the center, Lucifer's Sun God Day, also with the spiral. You remember that one Adventist slide I showed you, circle with the dot in the center with the sun rays coming out of it. This is a correlation to that. Here you can see in this particular religious book, which is non-Adventist, again they have the face made into a spiral, the spiral ending in the nose. And we're finding that all churches are using this. It is used exactly for the reason that's stated, to induce a state of ecstasy. In Adventist corporation circles and their literatures, we're finding more and more spirals picking up as the celebration movement picks up. Here you see Insight Magazine, December 7, 89, the whole page covered with the spirals. Induce a state of ecstasy. Here again from the Guide magazine. Here you can see again the spiral, many different forms. Here you also see the one wavy line going vertically, representing, of course, power, to give a feeling of power, and coming out of the triangle. You'll see this very same setup between the triangle and the wavy line, the lunar serpent, being used in New Age circles. And you also see them in stores and even non-religious publications. The wavy line equating and coming out of the triangle. Here again from Insight Magazine, some more samples. February 29, 1992, the spiral. And here, of course, they put the spirals right into the eyes, all subliminal, all to induce a state of ecstasy. Celebrate, celebrate, celebrate. This is a little piece of literature we got from a Seventh-day Adventist church in Canada. It's being used by Seventh-day Adventist churches. It's produced by a non-Seventh-day Adventist religious company. But please note, when we stopped, the gentleman at the particular church brought this to our attention and was being used on his children at a Canadian church. Please note here it says, Jesus had to find the way to live. He had to choose the good way or the bad way. What did Jesus, do? And of course, now they suggest that what Jesus did is, can you find the right path to the sun? And then they have a form of a spiral working. You play the little game and you work the spiral until you come into the center and you get to the sun. But please notice how many suns this has on it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the mark of the beast. Can you find the right path to the sun? Jesus had to choose the right way or the wrong way, the good way or the bad way. Please also notice here it says, make an X on the things below that Jesus did not have in the wilderness. Well, we know he didn't have a hamburger and a Coke and a telephone and a TV and a nice comfortable bed and a bicycle and lots of company. The only thing he had was the sun and the nature that he was out in. So you see, they put the sun with the things that Jesus didn't have. All right. So they make you play the little game and they equate the sun with the ones that you'll finally end up with. This is another highly subliminal advertisement put out by the Adventist Corporation, Insight Magazine. You haven't seen a lot about the three wavy lines yet, but we've told you they represent 666, Nimrod, Semiramis, and Tammuz. And as you will see later, they're equated with BEM. This is a horizontal use signifying peace. But please note the language of the cover along with the symbols. Circle with a dot in the center, Lucifer's sun god day, spirals to induce a state of ecstasy. 666. So what? Big difference which day you keep. That is the message on the cover of this magazine. Notice the upside down eye, the spirals, the wavy lines, all subliminal uses of symbols to go along with celebration and Sunday worship. They're not just using these on the children, as you can see. The Review and Heralds have had plenty of spirals on them. Message magazine, lots of spirals being used. And of course, since the celebration movement started, we're picking up a correlation between that and the wavy and the spirals going together. This is from a non-Adventist publication, just to show you it's being used in all the churches, so that we show you that all of the churches are doing this. This is a little booklet, and in here they have supposedly Samuel's coat. But notice what the coat has in it: a spiral, induce a state of ecstasy. Non-religious advertisers are using the spiral and the wavy line together. Induce the state of ecstasy. 666. One other symbol before we get into the three wavy lines, which will be the rest of the program, is the Yanni, representing the womb of the world. It's often described as a gateway. Entrances and exits out in or out of truth. Remember, this equated with the horseshoe, which was, when put together, resembled the symbol of the serpent. World Council of Churches likes to use Yannis. Catholic Church likes to use yanis. Here we are with Mary in the center. Also note the triangles that we talked about earlier. The Catholic Church is into triangles. Here's your double triangle, male and female, 666, 666, the six-pointed star. Behind the man's forehead, remember the forehead goes is where the mark of the beast is, our thinking process. Here we have another triangle behind the forehead with the sun rays coming out, and the horseshoe equated with the symbol of the serpent, the wavy line, which when plotted would result in a wavy line. Adventists are getting into the yanis. Here you can see in this particular issue, in two yanis. Again, just a few shots here of different yanis popping up within the Adventist Church. A lot of the O's are now being transformed into yanis. We're picking that up. One wavy line with this yani. ADRA Corporation. Notice it's no longer Seventh-day Adventist Relief Agency. It's Adventist Development and Relief Agencies. Please note the yani and the invitation of the Spirit, hands outstretched. The Indians, of course, use that same symbol of inviting the Spirit. Great Spirit, guide me today. Folks, I want to tell you, if you're not in obedience to the will of God, and you start using this and inviting the Spirit, there's only one Spirit that will come. And I'm here to tell you, it will be the spirit of Satan. You remember the vision that Ellen White had in early writings of a group of Adventists, and they forgot to follow God into the most holy place. Their theology did not take them there where they could overcome sin. And Ellen White saw that it was Satan who sought to take the place, as it were, of God, and it was he that breathed on them. We see the same symbol of invitation to worship. Please note that the rainbow is behind her, so the sun is in front of her, so she's looking toward the sun. This is baptism, Eucharist, and ministry. B-E-M. There's your ship. Your magical ship over the waters new. Oikuminde, celebration of sacred days. Please note the three wavy lines, 666, or BEM, baptism, Eucharist, and ministry. Let's go to the back cover and find out a little bit more about this meeting and the documents that were involved. It says here, the statement published here marks a major advance in ecumenical journey. Over 100 theologians met in Lima, Peru in January 1982 and recommended, please note this word, unanimously, to transmit this agreed statement. The Lima text for the common study and official response of the churches. They represented virtually all the major church traditions. Eastern Orthodox, Oriental Orthodox, Roman Catholic, Old Catholic, Lutheran, Anglican, Reformed, Methodist, United, Disciples, Baptist, Adventist, and Pentecostals. And that is Seventh-day Adventists, as you will see later on. Please note again the three wavy lines. On the inside of this magazine, you'll notice who prepared this document. In conclusion, the Faith and Order Commission was again authorized by the World Council of Central Committee to transmit its finally revised document, the Lima text of 1982, to the churches, along with a request for their official response as a vital step in the ecumenical process of reception. The sad fact is, folks, you're not only going to be seeing that the Adventist Church responded and agreed to go along with these documents and this statement of faith, but they helped prepare it. Notice this news clipping from San Jose, California Mercury, July 12, 1968. They've been on this Faith and Order Commission that prepared these documents since 1968. First of all, it says the Catholics were admitted to the Commission on Faith and Order. Then it says also admitted to full membership, Seventh-day Adventists. Almost 14 years before the Faith and Order Commission, of which Seventh-day Adventists were a part, prepared this document for the ecumenical journey. Now, Let me give you the sequence of dates. In 1981 to 82, the Faith and Order Commission worked at preparing this document, of which the Adventists sat on that committee. In 1982, at the end of preparing that document, they all met in Lima, Peru. And there, all denominations agreed unanimously to transmit it to their churches for approval. They were to respond by 1985. We will show you the Seventh-day Adventist Church response later on today in this program that they made in 1985, BEM Volume 2. Now, if they agreed to make some changes in their theology so they could go along with this ecumenical journey, baptism, Eucharist, and ministry, you would expect some changes to be starting to be made theologically in Adventist literature. I want to read to you just one example of what is taking place as a result of the Corporation of Seventh-day Adventists being a part of this ecumenical journey on the way to the unity of all the churches under the BEM document. Remember, one of those is E for Eucharist. It says, what has struck me afresh this week, and the thing that's interrupting my Bible reading tonight, is the deep significance attached to this age-old Christian observance by the major religious communions of the World Council. In contrast to the cavalier, almost sloppy way we sometimes treat aspects of this service in some of our churches. The tactic is easy to see. This is a tactic of lifting up the service of the World Council of Churches and putting down one. That's an old advertising trick, and I think we all know about that. But look what he says as he goes on the next page, continuing in on this subject of the Eucharist. He says, and we can go on, if space permitted, to mention the WCC's affirmation of the differently able and of Aboriginal peoples and minorities, its emphasis on justice and peace and the integrity of the creation. Sounds like a wonderful organization. Problem is, it's not. It's accentuation of the Holy Spirit and the Eucharist. The Eucharist. All of these fit into the ambit of the three angels' messages. Well, folks, it may fit into the corporate Seventh-day Adventist three angels' message, but I certainly hope it does not fit into yours. Because if it does, you need to do some real praying, soul searching. Baptism, Eucharist, and ministry. Eucharist, a part of the three angels' message. God forbid, that's an abomination in the sight of God. Millions of people died and gave up their lives during the Dark Ages against this false teaching of the Roman Catholic Church. And we let it go off our backs like water. Seventh-day Adventist staff booth at Eucharistic Congress. Notice this took place after the 1985 positive response by the Seventh-day Adventist Corporation. Those three wavy lines that were on that cover, it says here in the book Terrific Meanings that this wavy line, and the three wavy lines, of course, represent the beliefs and practices of spiritualism. You may even notice that they're popping up everywhere, even on the sides of cars. Should it be no wonder when Ellen White said that the whole world would be taken in by spiritualism, that we should not expect to see its main symbol worldwide and in every facet of life. This is a magazine put out by the Seventh-day Adventist North American Division of the General Conference called Dialogue. You remember in Counsels to Writers and Editors, page 30, that the three pillars represent the three angels' messages. And please note, remember that the three wavy lines, when they're up and down, have the represent a feeling and are to give a feeling of power and are to symbolize power. Please note that the three pillars representing the three angels' messages, the message here, subliminally speaking, is that the three wavy lines have the power to replace the three angels' message. And notice who is over the house. One wavy line representing the lunar serpent, Satan, the female god side of him, as his false religion teaches. Dialogue. Three wavy lines. Same three wavy lines you'll see on the BEM documents. It even appears and should be more ludicrous to us, these three wavy lines that are popping up all over Adventist literature that you're going to be seeing when you realize one of the five basic symbols of the Satanist church is three wavy lines. These are from the Zinner cards. Spiritualism, said Ellen White, would take over the whole world. And this is even more shocking, folks. This is from the Adventist Review cover, September 28, 1989. You see, a lot of Adventists saw this, and they saw that, and they said, boy, that's an interesting design. Sure is some unique stuff, Adventists are coming up. And then they went back home and they went to sleep. But I want you to notice, folks, the message that is being sent. First of all, this was not designed for Adventist understanding. This was a message. Being a former advertising and marketing director at the General Conference for and Review and Herald for some of our publications, and having a background in advertising, those who know about advertising would not mistake that this is a message being sent. Notice here we have the face. Here's the eye. Notice that we have a phallic symbol because it's heavier on one end and lighter on the other, going through the eye into the mind. And what do they want to put through the eyes into the mind of Seventh-day Adventists? The symbol of the coming one world church, three wavy lines. Please note also the triangle as coming out of the mouth. The Bible says, out of the heart the mouth speaketh. They don't only want to imbue Adventists with this symbol and the teachings that go along with this, they want them to share it. Even Jesus said when he gave his glory-giving principles in John 17, said, I have given what you gave me unto my disciples. They even liked the design so much that they gave 6 awards to Brian Gray, who designed this. And it's interesting to note something about Brian Gray. As we've followed him around, he always seems to be a former designer, running around Adventist circles, designing many of these occult symbols in Adventist literature. At the same time, the wavy line started appearing in the Adventist church. We picked up on this article called The Keeper of the Waves. 3 wavy lines, Keeper of the Waves. What we feel is a very subliminal article. Here again you can see the little spiral with the 3 yods, and here finishing the article with the 3 wavy lines. But notice the subliminal effect of what's being said here, keeping in mind the 3 wavy lines. We smiled, knowing that with his dad nearby, the waves could never harm this charming little fella. The little boy edged closer to the shoreline, baby stepping his way nearer to the waves. He had come to realize that the crashing waves could come just so far and would not really harm him. The waves can come only so far. The master of the waves, which master is an important question here. The master of the waves watches me too. I have no need to fear. This is another use of this 3 wavy lines, the phallic symbol through the eye, appearing of women in the church and the Adventist Review. Here you see the new logo for Women in Action, the General Conference session, and women's organization. And here you can see, of course, 2 wavy lines being built into the logo. This doesn't even look Christian. Here you see the yin and the yang, the all-seeing eye, the all-seeing person looking on. Now, the question is, this is the last review, 1989. You'll please note no 3 wavy lines in the A. That's the last issue before they appeared. and in January 4, 1990. Here we see the beginning of the issues encompassing these three wavy lines. The question is, what do those three wavy lines represent? Some people are going to think they represent three angels, but it's interesting that they correlate with the three wavy lines being found in the BEM documents after the agreements they made. But let's see what they have to say in the Review and Herald. It says, created by Brian Gray, a former designer at the Review and Herald, the design has three stripes, they call it three stripes here, that are reminiscent. Now, reminiscent means reminds you of something in the past. They are reminiscent of the three angels of Revelation 14. And there, of course, again, we have the three wavy lines. But let's go on. Here, of course, you can see the three wavy lines on the sign in front of the General Conference building back in Maryland. Here again, we see wavy lines popping up on the front of reviews. We're going to get heavier as we go along. Before we get into the heavy use of three wavy lines in the Adventist Church, please note this text from the Bible, Psalm 74:4. Thine enemies roar in the midst of thy congregations, or churches. They set up their ensigns or symbols for signs. Satan's symbols are not there just to be funny. They are there to warn God's people, but they're also there to be used for Satan's benefit. He knows symbols work. Remember that three wavy lines in the forehead with the arrow going through the eye? Ellen White's comments in 7a about Adventists do not yet have all the light on the mark of the beast until the unrolling of the scroll. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God. Ellen White, as you will see later, says that just before the close of probation, Satan is going to come into the minds of the people through the sciences. And you better watch out who's making an image. Here she says, Volume 1 of the Testimonies, page 290. He therefore transforms himself into an angel of light and works upon the mind to allure from the only safe and right path. The science of phrenology, psychology, remember Jungian psychology, and mesmerism are the channel through which he comes more directly to this generation and works with that power which is to characterize his efforts near the close of probation. Through the sciences, into the mind, just like on the cover of that review. Satan has come unperceived through these sciences and has poisoned the minds of thousands and led them to infidelity. He is well pleased to have the knowledge of these sciences widespread. It is a plan which he himself has laid, that he may gain access to minds. This entering in, talking about into the mind, of Satan through the sciences is well devised by his satanic majesty. And in the minds of thousands will eventually destroy true faith in Christ being the Messiah, the Son of God. Here you have primary treasure. Please note, one set of wavy lines, two set of wavy lines, three set of wavy lines. Please note that this star is almost a complete, exact duplicate of the Catholic Rosa Crucifixus. Even the small symbols are the same except for one. This is Catholic symbology here. Of course, one of them, the three wavy lines. Please note this ad on the Adventist Singles Ministry. Folks, I've had a couple people look at this, and they have told me this is one of the most blatant ads for Satan and spiritualism they have ever seen. Please note, remember, we had two wavy lines being used by New Age for the age of Aquarius, equated with sun worship, and we have three wavy lines being used by the World Council of Churches, as you saw on the front of that BEM documents. Here in this ad, they use both sets. 1, 2, 3, the lighter set. 1, 2, the darker set. And please notice above it a symbol of the serpent, Satan, over the 2 sets of wavy lines. This is blatant spiritualism, folks. These are not Seventh-day Adventists. This is Adventist View. Some of you may not be familiar with this magazine yet. Put out by the North American Division. And guess who the designer is? You got it, Brian Gray. View. Please note again the 3 wavy lines and the sun, a wavy line, but it's inside where it gets blatant. Look at this young girl. Remember, the wavy line represented fire worship and sun worship. This is an Adventist magazine, folks. This girl is staring up while the wavy line is coming into her forehead and the sun is reflecting on her head and her eyes. This is a symbol of clear, definite symbol of sun worship in this inside of this View magazine. 666. Again, on the inside, circle with the dot in the center. Lucifer's sun god day with the sun rays going out. The whole magazine is about sun worship. 3 wavy lines, Revista Adventista. You may not have noticed the new logo. For Pacific Press, they've encompassed the 3 wavy lines into the logo of their company. Here you can see it again down here. Please also note the ABC stores. Here's an ad, 1, 2, 3 wavy lines. Guide magazine on every single issue, almost every week. Usually it is 6 wavy lines, 2 sets of 3 wavy lines, and the 1 wavy line representing the Lunar Serpent coming out of the triangle. This is spiritualism. It is correlating with what is happening in your world and in the Adventist Corporation and in all churches. Great Controversy, page 606. Ellen White says, God's servants under the 3 angels' message will unmask the spiritualism that is coming into the churches. Ranger Rick, just to show you that they're all doing it. 3 wavy lines equated with the sun. This is from the Guide magazine, November 23. Here you can see not only does the 1 wavy line represent the lunar serpent Satan, but here they make the wavy line into a serpent. Kid care. Please note all the some of the repeats of all the symbols we've already talked about. Wavy lines. Wavy lines. Wavy lines, wavy lines, spirals, circle with a dot in the center, almost. Wavy lines. Yes, a little of it is a graphic trend, but don't be fooled. Stay awake. 1, 2, 3 wavy lines. This is the Super Book of Bible Activities from the ABC store. Notice here, they will do exactly what New Agers and other churches are doing. They'll have 1 set of 3 and then 1 set of 1 off to the side so that you know you have 1 set of 3 for the World Council of Churches and 1 representing the Lunar Serpent. Just like in that Dialogue magazine with the 3 pillars and the 3 wavy lines next to each other and then 1 up on top. These are a little bit more discreet. Logo for Canadian Adventist Broadcasting Company. The recent change, I think about a couple of years ago, but they encompassed a wavy line into their logo. Same thing with the Review and Herald. Online, 1 wavy line into the online. Primary Treasure, 1990, 1, 2, 3 wavy lines. Message magazine, and this is where it gets blatant so that you will know for sure it cannot be a mistake. Again, you'll see off to the side of the spiral, 1 set of 3 wavy lines representing power, and again the one off to the side separate from the 3, the grouping of 3. But it's inside, folks, where it gets really blatant, where no New Ager or spiritualist would ever make a mistake, that this is highly spiritualistic. You take this to a New Age Mage magazine, and the first thing they're going to think is that you're their brother. There'll be no questions asked. Here's your 3 wavy lines, the symbol for the New World Church. And look at this young man going down an upside-down cross, which means defeat to Christ. And he's looking down and walking into the what? The sun with a cross in the center. The cross representing sun worship. The sun with its wavy lines going out. The trees even with wavy lines. This whole thing is a spiritualistic symbology. And Mr. Falkenberg looking on with approval. Please note the next page. The triangle representing female goddess, 666, sun. 3 wavy lines from the World Council of Churches, and the boy is graduating to what? Sun worship. An Adventist magazine to the world. We're telling them that we're for sun worship, and you're soaking it in. Not knowing and understanding what it's doing to your mind. This is trash. Put this literature down. Don't be reading it. Again, you remember I showed you the upside down, a double triangle in New Age and Catholic circles. Here's one example of how they're using it in the Adventist church. Double triangle, yin and yang, right and wrong, male and female. One wavy line representing the lunar serpent, a accentuation on the sun, and the cross, a symbol of sun worship. Notice that the boy is kneeling, reading, and he's in the direction of the sun with the wavy lines. You say, there's 3 angels. One problem with those 3 angels. Those angels are Catholic angels. They have halos on their head. Those are not any 3 angels that you'd want to endorse if you're a true historical Seventh-day Adventist. In this magazine here, Insight Magazine, this is February 192. They're trying to tell the young people here that the wavy lines is the way. And I'm here to tell you the wavy lines is not the way. The Bible says, Jesus saith unto him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh up to me, to the Father, but by me. John 14:6. And at midnight there was a cry made, behold, the bridegroom cometh. Jesus is coming, folks, and your only hope and your only security is going to be going out to meet him. You will not be able to lean on any flesh, just Jesus. What did Ellen White say? She says, all visible means of support will be taken away. Well, let's go on a little bit more. This is from the Adventist Review, 9/789. 7 things teenagers are dying to tell their parents. And what are they dying to tell their parents? Watch the symbolism. The 3 wavy lines coming out of the mouth. This quote has got to be apropos at this time. This is shot right out of the Review. Nothing added, nothing changed. What it says is what Ellen White wrote, including the brackets. Of those who boast of their light and yet fail to walk in it, Christ says, but I say unto you, it shall be more tolerable for Tyre and Sidon in the day of judgment than for you. And thou, Capernaum, Seventh-day Adventists, who have had great light, which are exalted unto heaven, in point of privilege, shall be brought down to hell. And that's where she's headed, folks. That's where she's going. And the symbols prove it. For if the mighty works which had been done in thee had been done in Sodom, it would have remained unto this day. God help us. Are they hiding some of these 3 wavy lines? Yes, they are. Notice the 3 wavy lines being hid in this ad in Signs of the Times. Is Signs a powerful magazine? Last time when I went to school and when I was a little tyke, they told me that leopards had spots, not wavy lines. But notice this subliminal hiding of 3 wavy lines in this ad. 1, 2, 3. Again, we took this ad to somebody who knows a little bit more about spiritualism and New Age and the occult than I do. And their comment was this was a blatant spiritualistic symbol of Satan. You might have noticed, go back to that, circles with the dots in the center. Some of them are not so circly, but the point is made. Even at Andrews University now, you can send your child out in the playground so he can play on a symbol of Satan. 1 wavy line, the lunar serpent. Matthew 24:15 and 16 is clear. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. Folks, there are so many abominations of desolations, the standard of Rome in the Adventist church, and we don't even see them. Celebration is a desolation, an abomination of desolation in the holy place where it not ought to be. Spiritualistic symbols, a duplication of the symbols of Rome, are in the Adventist literature. They are where they ought not to be. And we sit there and we say, oh, everything will turn around and fix up. It says, then let them which be in Judea do something about it. Flee into the mountains, into the spiritual mountain of Zion. 2 Babylons makes it very clear that this wavy line, the serpent, the lunar serpent, symbolizing sun worship, was also a duplicate symbol, not a duplicate symbol, but a symbol that correlated with the original standard of Rome back in 70 AD. It says, is the established color of fire. And as the serpent, lunar serpent, one wavy line, was the universally acknowledged symbol of fire worship, the probability is strong that the use of a red dragon as the imperial standard of Rome was designed as an emblem of that system of fire worship. And you've already seen the beginning of this program, fire worship and sun worship go together. Is the standard of Rome in the Seventh-day Adventist Church where it not ought to be? Yes. Great controversy. 1884 edition, page 5. The dreaded hour would come suddenly and swiftly. And the Savior warned his followers, when ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. Folks, have you not read AT 133? Ellen White says, the destruction that came upon Jerusalem is coming upon us. If you obey, God can bless you. If you disobey, the wages of sin is death for everyone, be it individual or corporation. When the idolatrous standards of the Romans should be set up in the holy ground, which extended some furlongs outside the city walls, then the followers of Christ were to find safety in flight. It's a spiritual destruction that's coming, folks. The Lord has shown me clearly that the image of the beast would be performed when? Before probation closes. For it is to be the great test of the people of God by which their eternal destinies will be decided. Folks, Ellen White prophesied it. The symbols show it. The Adventist Corporation is beginning and is working on making an image to the beast. Your test will be, what are you going to do about it? Guide Magazine, July 28, 1990, 1, 2, 3 wavy lines. The new logo for Northern California Conference, 2 wavy lines with the sun. Remember, the 2 wavy lines correlate with the sun's activity. Signs of the Times, 2 wavy lines. Guide Magazine, 1, 2 wavy lines. The new patch for Pathfinders, 3 wavy lines. What do we need a patch for Pathfinders for 3 wavy lines? Why is it there? It correlates with the 3 wavy lines on B-E-M, baptism, Eucharist, and ministry. Adventist Review, please note how subtle sometimes it is. 1, 2, 3 wavy lines, 1 set of 3, and 1, 2, 1 set of 2. And there you have both New Age and World Council churches represented together in a symbolism. How should, Christians vote? Do the Adventist Church, is the Adventist Corporation, do they know they're using symbolisms to send messages? Let's let them see and by their own admittance that they're using these symbols to prepare Adventists for this coming nice one world church. Even in their own Adventist review, where Adventists are sleeping, they're even warning us they're doing these things to Adventists, and we are fast asleep, not even realizing that they're admitting what they're really doing. This is from Adventist Review, June 6, 1991. The title of the article is, "Are You Biblically Literate?" Starts out by attacking the independent ministries. Folks, there's only one classification before God of whether you're independent or dependent. And that's whether you're independent or dependent of God. That's the issue. It says here, they go on to talk about how Adventists need to become, read the article, become biblically and culturally literate. Starts here, but nevertheless puts a finger on an important problem facing Seventh-day Adventists. Of course, the problem is to compete in society, to communicate effectively, and here talk about gaining a basic knowledge of that culture. Then they quote a gentleman by the name of Hirsch on how that can be done. Let's see what Hirsch has to say within the confines of Seventh-day Adventists, talking about the need and how we can become biblically and culturally literate. Watch this. The United States, Hirsch argues that only by accumulating shared symbols and the shared information that the symbols represent can Americans learn to communicate effectively with one another in their national community. According to this finding, communication depends on shared information, which becomes the key to competing. And folks, as historical, true Seventh-day Adventists, wanting to see the kingdom of God and give God's final warning, we're not here to compete. Here's another use showing how they use symbols. They know how to use symbols. If they didn't know how to use symbols, they wouldn't use these symbols to send this message right here. This is, of course, the Global Mission logo. And by the way, if you didn't notice, this Global Mission logo is almost exactly like all the other churches' 2000 Global Mission logos. But what kind of mission, what kind of message do they want to send with this mission? Global mission, a message of love. And they want to accumulate when? 1992. Please note the two sets of 3 straight lines. You say, well, those are not wavy lines. Well, we can help you with that little one. You'll notice these 2 books from the World Council of Churches don't use 3 wavy lines. Sometimes the World Council of Churches, they use 3 straight lines. From the book from Catholic Circles, Banners. Please note how the Catholic Church also uses wavy lines. You'll notice this tree subliminally has the 3 wavy lines. Please notice also what they're doing. This is the Catholic, kind of a Catholic version of one wavy line to their Mount Zion. And of course the Bible says, he said, I am the voice of one crying in the wilderness, make straight the way of the Lord, as said the prophet Isaiah. And of course this is an interesting one. It says, watch. What do they want us to watch? Notice here we got one wavy line, one set of wavy lines here, and another wavy line here. Please note the break off of the white line from the center wavy line, and slowly getting smaller and smaller, and merging with this one, which is getting larger and larger. And eventually, all of them becoming just wavy lines. The message here is, watch as all the Protestant churches that once broke off come back to mommy. Churches respond to BEM. Volume 6, you'll note again the 3 wavy lines, 666. Nimrod, Semiramis, and Tammuz, BEM. You'll notice here the Roman Catholic Church, Evangelical Lutheran Church, Swiss Protestant churches. All these documents, of course, have the 3 wavy lines. Notice what it says inside. If the divided churches are to achieve the visible unity they seek, one of these essential prerequisites is that they should be in basic agreement on baptism, Eucharist, and ministry. That's why you saw the change in that Adventist review equating Eucharist with the three angels' message. They should be in a basic agreement on baptism, Eucharist, and ministry.